Joining us in the studio right now, there we go, Vic Williams, Representative Vic Williams, candidate to Pima County Board of Supervisors, District 1. Good morning, sir. How are you?
John, good morning. I'm doing great. Thank you for having me in studio today.
No, it's nice to have you in. You know, we haven't had you in a while. Let's start off first with, tell me a little bit about your decision to run for the Pima County Board of Supervisors.
Just decided to stay home. I have a 10-year-old son at home, and just being in Phoenix for the last 4 years, 4 days a week, 4 or 5 months out of the year is it's difficult, and I'm a kind of a homebody, and I prefer staying home. And quite frankly, after about 2, 3, 4 months at the Capitol, I get a little anxious to be home. But with that being said, we've done some pretty good work at the state legislature. We balanced our state budget. We closed a $3 billion gap that we inherited. We didn't complain about it. We just fixed it. Obviously, what I'd like to talk about today is SB 1070. Sure. We did SB 1070. We cleared the way for Governor Brewer to sue the federal government over Obamacare. And as well, something I worked on real hard is working with our scientific community up at Sanofi and Ventana Medical. And we're bringing a whole new class of industry into Arizona with a clinical research trial with Sanofi deciding to work in that. We changed some laws around for them.
Were you surprised by the Supreme Court in their ruling over 1070?
No, actually, I wasn't surprised, and we were confident that the main part of the law, 2B, Section 2B, would stay in there, and we're happy with that. And look, John, this is not a finishing point. This is a starting point for Arizona and the nation. And it's up to us now in Arizona. The country, their eyes are going to be upon who we are in the state of Arizona, and we, for the first time, have the right to implement state-based illegal immigration laws. So it's a starting point. It's not a finishing time. So what we do from here is going to be indicative and key to where we go with illegal immigration. Now, obviously, we're fighting the Obama administration on what they're doing. They've implemented the removal of 287G from the state of Arizona, so now we're not going to be able to report. But I can say this: Barack Obama is going to be temporary in the annals of history. At some point in time, his presidency is going to terminate. Hopefully it's going to be in the next 6, 7, 8, 9 months. But if not, look, at some point in time, he won't be our president. We're going to move forward, and we have other states that have joined us. And this is just the beginning process of moving forward and fixing illegal immigration at a state-based level.
You know, you touched upon something when you first made your comment, and that was the point that they upheld was the major point. It's fascinating to me to watch the narrative across the country. And I attribute this to people not living through the controversy of SB 1070 like we all did here. Because for us, you know, when you look at the ability of law enforcement to check people's IDs during routine stops, that was the sticking point here. But it seems like either the media is choosing to ignore that was the big crucial part of SB 1070, or they just don't understand how important that was to us here in Southern Arizona.
Well, look, both sides.
Or in Arizona, I should say.
This has been a huge, controversial, national and international issue, so everyone has to take some kind of side on this. So in many ways, what has happened here, we need to define what this is. And we have the ability, we have, let's say, the control within our hands to start charting the course of what SB 1070 is going to be from here on out in implementing state-based illegal immigration laws here on forward. So really, this is an open palette for us to start implementing this. And secondly, too, John, a lot of people talk about states' rights, the 10th Amendment. This is proof in the pudding. SB 1070, in allowing it to stay in intact, is really a states' rights victory as well. A lot of times people argue on theoretical terms about states' rights, but this is something that we can start to move forward, that we have actually planted our foot as a state, as a sovereign republic, and we've kind of fended off the federal government and continue to move forward on other states' rights issues from here. So there's a lot of starting points and good things that we can work for, but we have to build from here.
Talking with Representative Vic Williams. Vote the number 4vic.com is his website. Are you what's your reaction to how Governor Jan Brewer has handled this so far? And just in terms of the Supreme Court ruling and what the Obama administration has done in reacting towards it.
Well, I'm a big Jan Brewer fan. I think she's a superstar. She's handled this well from the very beginning back in May of 2010. She has picked up the ball. She's run with this thing, and she's handled it very well under very, uncertain circumstances. Even guys like Marco Rubio in Florida, initially, when this law came out, they were kind of bad-mouthing SB 1070 because people didn't understand what we were doing. And Governor Brewer, before it was popular outside the state of Arizona was a champion of this. I think she's done a good job with this. But once again, here we are at a situation in the state legislature is going to be key moving forward on this. How do we implement and develop laws that are going to be consistent with the federal government, but at a state level? So I think we're in good shape, and I'm happy with what she's done, and let's keep moving forward on this legislation.
Do you think we need to be focusing on the 10th Amendment aspect of this? I mean, that's where, when we look at Scalia's comments in regards to it, I mean, they were very pointed, and I think this is an opportunity that we have here to shed some more light on what we as a state are allowed to do.
Well, John, look, right now we're standing on the very precipice of policy. On policy, it's never been done before. So where do we focus? You know what? That we get to determine that, and so it's going to be moving forward. So we get to create what we're going to do here forward, but we have to make sure it's done in a way that's just,
right,
that it's not based on racial profiling. It's not based on all the things that the critics are out there trying to, squash us on, but start moving forward and implementing good state-based law because of the failure of our federal government, and then ultimately working in conjunction with other states, and you will start to see a policy throughout the United States based on the 50 states or whatever states start to pick this up, and ultimately getting towards national policy. And I personally do believe it needs to be based on four things. It needs to be based on security, such as SB 1070. It needs to be based on minimizing or eliminating services to people that are here illegally. We need to put teeth into an employer sanctions law, and at some point in time, we need to come up with a guest worker program. Grow those things equally, simultaneously, and we'll start to get to the root of the problem. We will start to stem the flow of illegal immigration, and then at that point in time, we can have that discussion after we stop the flow of illegal immigration about comprehensive immigration reform. But until you have the flow stopping and the draw stopping, and you start talking about comprehensive illegal immigration reform, you're going to get people that are going to draw. That in itself will be a draw for people to come here illegally.
What kind of effect do you think President Obama's executive order, in terms of the DREAM Act, is going to have on our ability to use 1070 to implement our own law?
Well, I don't see the DREAM Act issue that he's doing, interfering with what we're doing on SB 1070. Obviously, his decision to pull the plug on 287G for the state of Arizona is putting a major roadblock right in front of what we're doing and really flies in the face of the rule of law. And I think it's indicative and is just so utterly transparent in what the president is doing at this level. To me, it motivates me as a voter even that much more to see him as a single-term president of the United States.
Well, I'll ask you the same question I asked Martha McSally, and that is, what's your reaction to what the president has done in the past couple of weeks? I mean, are you surprised by this? I know I was. The executive order, I don't think there's been enough focus on just how big of a deal that actually was. And you look at what happened with Fast and Furious and that executive privilege as well. I'm just curious to get your thoughts.
Desperate measures call for desperate times. I think he's backed himself into a corner. I think he feels vulnerable. I think he is vulnerable in the re-election process. And I think this is the inexperience of who he is politically coming out as he's being pressured into a corner. And he's basically backed himself into a corner based on poor policies, be it healthcare, be it illegal immigration issues, be it the economy. And this is someone kind of lashing out and looking for some kind of opportunity. And I think it displays his lack of leadership. I think it displays his lack of ability as the president of the United States. And this is something that I think back in 2008 when they were going through the process, is he qualified to run the office? Yeah. And now that the pressure's on him, boy, I tell you what, I'm surprised by it. I'm shocked by it.
Yeah.
But you know what? Let's not, how to put it, let's make sure that we focus our energy based on his negative process in a way that's productive in getting him out of office. Let's not just run around with our hair on fire for the sake of our hair on fire, but focus this kind of process, these issues that he is messing up on in a way that brings us other voters that help him leave office.
You were talking about moving forward on SB 1070 and where do we go from here? Where do we go as a state? Where's the legislature go on this? What are you guys thinking at this point in time? I mean, you know what the Supreme Court has ruled. You know what the Obama administration, their response is, which, let me just state again real quick, makes no sense to me. So the federal government doesn't do their job. So Arizona decides to craft the SB 1070 based off of existing federal law, and then the White House and the Obama administration say, no, we're going to do it for you. The Supremes respond, and then they decide they're going to do even less.
Yeah,
that doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, God bless America and the Barack Obama administration. Look,
but what do you do moving forward?
You know, that's a good question. It's an open palette. We get to chart our course right now, and it's a matter of what do we feel we need to do? And I think we need to come up with comprehensive illegal immigration reform. Before we come about doing immigration reform, we need to stem and block the tide of people coming to this country illegally. One, I think we can take a look at our guest worker sanctions. Not guest worker, but look at our employer sanctions law.
Right. Put
some teeth into it, and also kind of challenge some of the rulings from the federal government where we do on the employer sanctions law, and as well what services we provide to people that are here. But once again, growing security along with limiting services, along with the employer sanctions law, and as well as like a guest worker program, and growing that equitably and equally at the same time, we start to stem that flow. And then as well, we need to be good stewards of this and good examples to other people in the United States that we're doing it the right way, so other states join what we're doing. We've already seen 6 or 8 other states try to implement laws. This is kind of the goal point that we can start moving forward. So this is a victory, but once again, look, it took 35 or 40 years to get to this state of a legal immigration problem in our country.
Right.
It's going to take 10 years to reverse it effectively, step by step. But you know what? The liberals have always been good at playing small ball, one step at a time, walks, singles, doubles. We need to be the same things as conservatives, moving our agenda forward on rectifying illegal immigration problems.
You know, the one argument they always plant on SB 1070, even though it doesn't fly in my book, is it wasn't designed for border security, but it's the one they always go and point at. So in terms of looking at border security, because I don't think you're ever going to be able, apart from the president issuing executive orders, I don't think you're ever going to be able to implement any kind of extensive immigration reform unless you convince the American public that we've done everything that we can do to secure our borders. So what do we do in that regard?
Well, once again, we need to secure our borders. If you're talking about, we got to move forward. We got to display to the American people, look, I'm 49 years old. What brought me to the Republican Party was Ronald Reagan. That's my hero. That's the icon in which I follow. It brought me to be a Republican. But look, in 1986, the Reagan administration gave amnesty to 3 million people before they secured the border. In retrospect, we look at that as a mistake. Need to do the security of the border and stop the flow through employer sanctions and guest worker programs and services that we provide. You get to that point, then you can have that dialogue about comprehensive reform. So right now, John, I don't have the agenda. Sure. But future legislators will start to craft that. The only thing is that we need to craft it in a way that is smart, that is thinking long term. Let's not look just for the immediate, result, but the long-term result on this, turning it back. Let's be statesmen about this, and we have an example right now. We will be the example as Arizona to lead the nation in this issue.
State Representative Vic Williams, thank you very much, sir. Again,
thank
vote
you.
to the number 4vic.com. Also candidate for Pima County Board of Supervisors, District 1. It was great having you in studio, sir, and we'll talk to you again real soon.
Great. Thank you very much, John.